I'm Dr. Chuck Edwards, and I'm here with my friend, Ted McGee. The reason why we're going to do this sort of special video today is because this man sitting next to me has had an amazing life. It's been a unique life, and he's just turned 100, and I didn't want this story to disappear without us giving it the weight that it deserves. It doesn't mean that I don't think you're going to live a while, okay? I want you to know that. But,
That's okay.
But so the background is that Ted and I met in 2014 when he brought his wife, Jackie, to us here at Memory and Movement Charlotte. Ted was the principal caregiver for her, and we were going through all kinds of stuff, okay? And we're going to go over that. But the first thing I want to do is I want to start much earlier because that's where the story really begins. But first, let me tell you, congratulations to making it to 100. Did you ever think you would? Huh?
I never thought much about it.
You just go day to day, don't you?
Yeah.
Huh? It's amazing. And at least I've been touting this as you having all your marbles. Is that pretty much it? Do you think? You still think you got them?
I think so.
Okay.
But others might disagree.
All right. So we're going to go into your early life. First of all, tell me where you were born.
Wyandotte, Michigan.
Okay. And that's a famous place for you because that's where you got married. We'll get into that.
That's right.
All right. Tell me about your mom and dad. What did your dad do?
My dad was a barber. And my mom worked during the Depression at a toy factory. And I remember running across the street at when I was maybe 5 years old to greet her. She was coming back from work at a toy factory. I ran out across the street and got hit by a car.
No kidding.
And I broke a leg. And I remember going to the hospital and getting a ride up in the ambulance. And I remember my Aunt Hazel giving me a red sailboat. And that's about how much I remember on that. But I was blessed by not
getting killed,
right.
Because we wouldn't be here now if you didn't have the red sailboat.
Yeah.
All right, now tell me, did your mother did she steal a lot of toys from the place and bring them home?
No.
She didn't?
No.
Damn. All right, now tell me about brothers and sisters.
About who?
Brothers and sisters.
Oh. Well, there's four of us together, including me. And Terry's in Austin, Texas, and he's...
No. Your brothers and sisters.
Oh, my brother Bill, he died probably in his 50s because he smoked pretty heavy, and he was drinking gin and drinking and trying to meet some job he couldn't quite do, at work, and he was pressuring.
And the gin didn't help. The gin didn't help, did it?
No, he killed it. Actually, he had a heart attack and died. He had 5 children.
Oh my gosh!
And,
so you just had one brother, is that right? Okay. No other siblings.
No, well, I got 2 sisters.
Okay. All right. Tell me about them.
And
any of them still alive?
Both of them are living. Both sisters.
Now, were they older sisters?
That's a point right now, because if I'm 100, they've got to be younger than me. And yes, they're both alive yet.
But they're both younger.
They're both younger.
I was going to say we needed to get a hold of the sisters. Here we are making a big deal out of him making it to 100. He goes, "You ought to meet my older sister. She really is unbelievable." Okay, all right. So the 2 sisters are still alive. Where do they live?
Wait, my 2 sisters.
Your 2 sisters.
Oh, wait a minute. They're not still alive.
Okay, all right. I was going to say
I got that. With the other
you got that
children.
screwed up. You got your sisters mixed up with your 2 daughters.
Yes.
Okay. All right. No big deal.
My 2 sisters are passed. Yeah.
What? How old were you when the war broke out?
When I went where?
How old were you when the war broke out? World War II. How old were you?
I was in my 20s.
Okay.
I was 20. We were rowing in 1942 in a 8-hour shell. They held us up as soon as we finished our race, which we won a gold medal. And
You've never forgotten that, have you? That'll be the last thing that goes.
and,
All right.
anyway,
First of all, tell me about your education. You finished high school.
Yes.
Did you go to college?
No, I went to the work. I'm trying to think. It was Illinois.
Vocational school, kind of. Where you?
It was a vocational school.
Okay.
And I went to school there, and then I became a teacher of it. I had 9 guys, and I taught this course for the new type of telephone stuff. New electronics was coming in, the old mechanical stuff was going out, and we had a 9-month class. So I became a teacher after
So they kept you on. You must have been good at that.
well, I could do it.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So you're going along. What year were you born?
1923.
All right. 23. Okay. So I should have known that because that makes you 100. Okay. I'm sorry. Math never was really my strong suit either. All right. So 23. So in 40, you were 17 years old. Okay. So in 39, 40, you were still
In high school.
Yeah. Okay. So then, where were you when you first heard that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor? Where were you?
I was in 12th grade high school.
You were in high school.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Do you remember the class?
No, St. Pat's. What do you mean the number of the class? It's high school. It's St. Pat's in Wyandotte, and some of the fellows went and volunteered December 11th.
They went that day.
And some volunteered out of high school, and I went to volunteer, and they told me, go back and finish high school, son, because it's going to be a long war. So I went back and finished high school, and then from that I went to work, and I was drafted later on.
Okay. So you worked for a couple of years.
Yes.
All right. So when did you enter the service? What year? 42, 43?
That's the race of 40. And I believe it was the late part of 42.
Okay. All right. So you get drafted,
Yes.
and you end up going down to the induction center.
No.
You were going to say something?
Oh, no. Well, as soon as we finished rowing, they drafted us. They let us stay on as a crew for an 8-hour crew till we finished racing the last classical race. And we, as soon as we did, most all the guys were drafted right away.
Were you the guy that gave the cadence up front, or were you rowing?
No, the cadence guys has got to be a lightweight.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't look like, most of the guys that are in that look like me, long, skinny guys that are got that.
I think I was rowing at 116 pounds. We were racing lightweight. We still won a gold medal, though.
I know you told us that.
I told you a lot of times.
That was a highlight. I like that.
Do something.
I know, a gold medal. I mean, how many people get gold medals? Okay, so you go to basic training. Where did you go?
Lisle, Illinois.
They took you on a bus over there, right?
Yes.
Okay, you get off. And how do you get in the Army Air Corps? When did you tell them, wait a minute, I don't want to be in the infantry, I want to be in the Air Corps?
Well, I wanted to be a pilot at the time, and I didn't make it that, but they sent me, they trained me in a ball turret. And,
all right, so the ball turret part. Okay, so you come along and there's a guy there. He's probably a sergeant or so.
Yeah.
and you walk in. Here you are, Private McGee. And he turns to you and he says, I got this really good job for you. How would you like to be a ball turret gunner? Did you have any idea what that was and what that meant?
No, I didn't, but it sounded good.
It sounded good.
When you're 20 years old, you're filled full of.
But I know, but all right. So let me explain. I just today I went online and pulled up ball turret gunner World War II, and the first line that came up said, "What was the most dangerous job in the United States military in World War II?" And then it said, "Well, if it wasn't the ball turret gunner, it certainly was up there." Explain to the people that are listening what it means to be a ball turret gunner. Exactly what is it?
Well, it's a round ball that drops out below the airplane, and you get in it first, and you take and you have two 50 caliber guns in it. It's a globe. You just barely sit in it. Your knees come up almost around your ears when you sit in it, and it's got a couple of toggle bolts up here.
Now, what does the toggle bolts do?
They lock the ball so that it is when you turn it, that's going to turn around, so it's airproof when you lock it. So when you're shooting and you raise your guns up, that goes back a ways, and so.
Could you get out of it? Could you jump back up into the plane?
If I could turn around, open it up, and I could jump back up into the plane. Usually I had a buddy helping me to get out, and I always remember a buddy saying, "I'll never leave you in there," because sometimes it takes time to roll your guns back up and to get that opened up here.
So that's how you open it, with this movement, this toggle.
Couple toggle bolts to get out. And then the ball turret cranks up if you want it up, but it cranks up manually. But you didn't have to. He pulled me out of it. So.
All right. So you're training. So you're in I think you told me one time you were in a B-17.
No, it's a B-24.
Oh, B-24.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the Liberator, right?
Right.
Okay. And that was not as good as. It wasn't that plane wasn't all that great, was it? I mean,
no,
it
wasn't as good as the B-17
or the B-29.
Oh no, and it was flying boxcar, I call it, because it was, the windows are all open and everything, and you're hoping you get off the small island you're trying to take off the runway, and you're just praying that it makes it, and but it was my wife's mother worked on making B-24s on assembly line.
You're kidding?
No, she did.
That's amazing. Jackie's mother. All right, so you go through training, and you're a ball turret gunner.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they sent you to the Pacific, right? This is 1943.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Curtis LeMay or any of those guys, the famous generals that were bombing Japan and everything? Did you ever run into those guys?
No.
All right. What island were you on? Where did you take off from?
New Guinea, New Four Island, and we took off in there. We were called the Long Rangers because they were long missions.
New Guinea's a long way from all those islands.
Yeah. We were called the Long Rangers, with the B-24 had a long range, and sometimes we'd have to land at another island and then keep on going when we hit the Japanese task force.
Did you go out looking for the Japanese?
We went, yes, because we heard the Japanese task force was in China Sea or someplace by
South China Sea.
And we went after them, and we landed at an island first and gassed up and everything, and then went looking for them. And
how many missions did you do? Do you have any recollection of how many you did?
41.
You did 41
Yeah.
Were you in the ball turret on all 41 of those missions?
No, one mission, I was as the tail gunner, assigned as a tail gunner, but my knees are long, wouldn't fit under the star rail. Because from my knees down, I'm long. And
You're long in the legs
yeah,
and short in the body.
Yeah, I wouldn't fit in it, so and nobody wanted the ball turret. So they gave
No
it
one wanted to go in there. Okay, was the mortality? It is reported that it was as high as 75 to 80% of the gunners in the ball turret never came back. Is that true?
I know I saw at least two of them go down where they're trying to straighten the plane's hit, the hydraulics are hit, and these are on the B-24 when you're in combat, and the B-24 is going down, no draw, and you see the ball turner guns trying to lower down so he can get out, and then get up.
And he's trying to go like this. You see him going like this.
And then once you get out, you got to grab a parachute off a gun wall.
You didn't have a parachute on you.
No, and you didn't have room for it. And you grab a parachute on, put it on, and jump out. By the time I saw two of them like that, they're going out, and I'm watching them. The guns are going down, and the other guys have all jumped out. They never made it.
They didn't get out.
They didn't get out.
Do you ever? All right, now we're going to talk about this, but do you ever have any dreams about this now?
Yeah. Oh, now I have dreams about missing one opportunity of where the guns jammed and someone coming in. I mean,
and you're trying to make it.
Yeah, jamming. I had right in the scope,
And you wake up in a cold sweat.
Yeah.
All right.
But I think of there's two planes that when the head plane went down and the right wing went between 24, both went down, and we were hit, but not in the hydraulics, and no one got hit in that.
Do you ever have a recollection of actually having the ball turret work and you shooting down another plane?
You mean not a dream?
Yes. No, not in a dream. I'm talking about real life.
I had one. I tell you, I got one in my scopes, right in, locked in like that.
And you got them.
And I got them in the scope. They got the guys jammed. The bad shell. They boom, nothing happened.
Oh God! I was hoping that you were going to get a gold medal on that. All right.
And
All right. So we come back. When you first came back, I don't think there's any duty that was any more hazardous or fear-producing than being a ball turret gunner. And you come back, did you have a lot of flashbacks to being in the ball turret, or do you feel like that you had what they call, what did they call it back then? It wasn't PTSD. It was there was another name for it, where the guys would have the shakes and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I had claustrophobia after, but you were crammed in there with your, something hitting the things. Every mission we come back, they gave us some whiskey to drink, a tin can far out, and but I still dream of the head plane and the right plane went down, B-24s.
And you can still see down.
It. I still dream of that going down. And
how long did it take you to kind of get readjusted to being back?
When I come back home, they put me in whatever you call the name of it. But for about 2-3 weeks, they kept me under a psychiatrist or someone trained like that, and then I was released. And
they let you go home.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that the people that fought in World War II, what I did is I saw this in the movie The Band of Brothers, the very end, you follow them for the whole time, the whole 3 years that they're in France, or 2 years. And they show you the picture of them, and the heroics that they have performed and the danger they've been in. And the camera comes in and it says that this soldier went back to San Francisco to become a taxi cab driver. This person became a house painter. Another, the famous guy in the Band of Brothers was a guy named Dick Winter, who he worked in a factory. And it just seems like that's such a non sequitur that here they do these amazing things and then they just went back to work. So you went to work for the telephone company.
Yeah.
You just said, boy, I'm really glad that I'm going to get there. And they took you right back in, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they had no trouble. My job was still there for me.
Did you ever think about that when you were in that ball turret and you said, I wanted to be in communications? I mean, did you ever feel like you got a bad deal? Huh?
Well, I was put in I told you before, I was assigned as a tail gunner, but I'm long from my knees.
Yeah, you told me your knees, you didn't fit. It would have been better if you could have been a tail gunner. At least you would have had a parachute.
Yeah.
All right.
I saw a lot of the B-24s when you shut down, and they got their lower door guns trying to get out,
And that boxcar was just going right down.
Yeah.
Okay.
It hit the hydraulics and it's going.
All right, so part 2 of this is going to be, this is the part that's the love story. I want to know, we took care of Ted's wife, Jackie, for 4 years, 3-4 years. And that's how we became friends. I want to know the first time you ever laid eyes on Jackie. Where was it, and what were the circumstances?
When Jackie, I worked for a telephone company.
Yeah, I know.
I was coming up the stairs, and Jackie worked at a telephone company. She was going to college during the summer. She was working in as an operator. She was coming down the stairs. I saw her, and I asked her for her telephone number. And
so she's walking up the stairs.
She's walking down the stairs. I'm going up.
Okay, so y'all meet going on the stairs. I was going to say you're following up the stairs. That's a different story there. All right. So tell me about the first time. So what did you say? What was the line that got you her phone number? Did you say, I work for the phone company, I'm doing some phone research? I mean, because one thing I've always been surprised about is, I took care of her when she was in her 80s, okay, early 90s.
Yeah.
She was still beautiful. I don't know if you ever had a shot with her. Well, I don't get it.
That's what my sister always told me.
All right, so what was the line that you used to get her attention?
No, I don't remember the line. I stopped her on the stairways, and I said, "You look beautiful," or something like that. And I said,
"Now you're talking."
I said, "Could I have your telephone number?" And she gave it to me. And
did you call her that day?
I got the telephone number for her. When I
How long before you called her?
Let's say, I can't remember the day, but it was
pretty quick.
Pretty quick. And I met her mother, and her mother fell in love with me.
She did.
I mean, as a son-in-law.
I got you.
She
was the one that was building the B-24.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right there.
All right. So how long were you married to Jackie? How many years?
Almost 70 years.
Almost 70 years. Okay. Tell me about, all right, now you went to St. Patrick's School in Wyandotte, Michigan.
Yes.
And you were married in that chapel to her.
Yes.
What year was it that you were married?
1947, I think. Wait a minute. I don't know if that's right or not. That's funny. I don't remember when date I got married.
That doesn't matter. What the date? I forget my anniversary all the time. It's not looked upon as being. If she was alive, I'd want you to remember it. But since she's gone, we don't have to be quite. All right. So, I want to know, so we've been married for 70 years. How did you happen to get to Charlotte? What happened don't tell me the phone company sent you here.
No. My son Chris wanted to go to a seminary, and they were opening up a new one here in Charlotte. That was reasonable. They were trying to get people to fill up the man there for a new seminary. And so he went down and found out, and he went to the seminary there in Charlotte. And we came down here and thought we'd stay about 3 years, see how they got along and stuff. And
You had already retired.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
And you like getting away.
I retired early.
And you wanted to get away from...
I quit, like so many people, I guess I know.
Yeah, hey, that's a pretty good memory about saying I didn't retire, I quit. That's in the book. All right. I want to know, here you are going along. What's the first thing you noticed that you said, oh my gosh, Jackie might be having a problem with her memory? What was the first thing that you saw?
Well, she was in, one of them, maybe this was the first one, but she came home from the hospital for some reason, I think, and she wouldn't let me get in bed with her. And she thought I was somebody else. And she kept calling me Alfred. That's her stepbrother. She says, you can't get in here. And so I said, I told her I was tired and I'm coming in there. You better move over or something. And we put a couple pillows in there. I jumped in bed and I was so tired.
Oh my God. All right. Now let me just speak to this. I think that the story was that she had had a little stroke and she was in the hospital because it was after the stroke that she developed the delusion. Okay. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So the delusion is called capgras. It's after a French neurologist. I think he lived in the 19th century. And the capgras delusion is that someone close to you, oftentimes a spouse, you have the delusion that they have been replaced by an imposter. So Jackie no longer recognized Ted as her husband. He was Ted, but he was another Ted.
Yeah.
Okay, and she often talked about you being a Ted that was a friend of her brother or something. Yeah. Do you remember that? Do you remember those details?
Oh, I know she wouldn't let me get in bed when she came home from the hospital. She had that problem.
Did she kick you out of bed? She did, didn't she?
Oh yeah.
You had to go downstairs.
We were downstairs in the bedroom, and I think at the time I went on a couch or something for a while, but then I said, this isn't right. I went back and got in bed, and you don't like it. She put some pillows in between us, and I jumped back in bed because I was tired. I don't need to sit on the couch. So I went back to bed.
Did she ever have, sometimes there's another delusion that's along with the capgras. It's interesting in that it comes from a part of the brain called the amygdala, which is where we have emotion. And some people think, no one really knows, but some people think that that a stroke or the disease process in dementia, vascular dementia, which is more common, it's more common in vascular dementia, that the emotion goes out of the relationship. So she would look at you, and even though you look like Ted, you can't be my husband because I don't have that affection. You're just a person there, and you look like my husband, but you're not. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, okay. Well, she wouldn't let me get in bed with her, when she came back from that stroke.
We had a really funny thing. We had this a little bit more than you would think, and we had one male who was the patient. and he got in bed and he looked over and he saw his wife. And he said, "You're not my wife." And she said, "What do you mean I'm not your wife?" And he said, "You're not my wife." And she said, "Well, why do you think you're in bed, with me?" He said, "I don't know, but what the hell?" And he would just, and of course that got him in real trouble. That was the worst thing he needed to do. But the Capgras. All right. Another time I remember you telling me that for some reason, Jackie y'all were in the car on I-77 and you were going to West Virginia, or you were driving to Michigan, or you were going somewhere.
I ended up in West Virginia, and ended up over in Asheville with her, and I tried this was the second place. The first place, I went up north with her in the car, and I went and got the clothes thing to bring it out, and she wouldn't go in, or she was trying to put me away. So
you had to drive her home. You called me.
I had to drive her home in the rain.
I know.
And that was.
You were 90, 92 or 93 years old, and you called me. You said, "All right, I want to know." We kept her at home for a long time, but it got harder and harder. Do you remember what the final sort of trigger was that forced us to put her in the facility? Do you remember what the name of that facility was? It was up north, around Huntersville or something, wasn't it? Oh, it was south?
I know.
The Haven. That's right. She was in the Haven.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right. What was it that finally it just got to the point where she would not do anything you said, and that we just couldn't manage her?
I kept her for almost, in my recollection, it seemed like I kept her about 4 or 5 years in that state. It gradually got worse, and what caused me is the problem of taking care of her, and her bowels and stuff are not controlled, type thing.
So it was incontinence, and then she wouldn't let you help her to get her clean. Okay, all right. I thought, all right. Share with us the amazing story about she's at the Haven, and at first when she was at the Haven, you would go over there and see her, and she would treat you like the other Ted. Okay, she didn't, she wasn't buying in on this. Did she ever have the delusion, I don't live here, I live somewhere else, but it's just like this? Did she ever have that?
Well, she was always I don't know if I'm following you on that, but when she first started having that problem a little bit, I drove her up. We were going to have a weekend at up near Pipestem. When we went in, I got reservation hotel, and I started bringing the
luggage,
yeah. And she says, "You're not putting me in there." That's when I first noticed.
So she thought Pipestem was some sort of facility.
It wasn't actually Pipestem. It was near there now. And so she said, "You're not putting me in there." So she wouldn't go. So we drove through Asheville, and I tried along the way to get her to. She said, "You're not putting me in these places." And at Asheville, I went in, told the manager, and I went with her, and told us. But that's when I first started,
realized that you couldn't do this anymore. Yeah. Okay, so we were in the Haven for several months before she fell.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we were in there for like 6 months or so.
Okay.
All right, tell us what happened when she fell and hit her head.
Well, she fell and she hit her chin on the bar, the soda bar they had in there. She hit her chin and got all blue here, and when she fell, it jerked something in her that she recognized me again or something, and but she was sent to emergency, went to the hospital.
The ER, yeah. She went to the ER.
Yeah, but I don't know.
What did she say to you when you went to see her in the ER? What did she say to you?
Well, she told me that I'm sorry all the trouble I've caused you, and she knew me. She said, and she so sweet to tell me. But I remember her telling, I'm sorry all the trouble. She knew she was causing trouble.
Even when she was causing it. Well, I remember you called me that day. You called me on the phone, and you said, Chuck, Jackie knows who I am now. She knows me. So I want to bring her home.
I guess I missed the part when you, that's right, but I hit the head on a chair. She recognized me.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, then I want to take her home. And she...
it's an amazing story. I mean, this is like what you'd find in a movie somewhere that, when people have amnesia and they get hit upside the head and the amnesia goes away, and everybody says, well, of course, that's in a movie. Well, this really happened. Now, I don't know if I want to go write this up because they're going to think we're crazy. All right. So, but you called me that day and said, can I bring her home? And I said, of course we can. We got Kelly and we brought her home. How many days did she live? It was only like 4 or 5 days at home. It was very short.
Well,
she fell at Chris's, right?
You remember?
She fell again at Chris's house, didn't
Well,
she?
yeah, she fell at Chris's house, and that's what did
That's
it
what
in.
took her out. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But she was over to Chris's, and I don't know, she reached down to pick up a piece of paper, snapped, broke something.
Broke her hip.
Oh, that's what it was. And then, okay. All right. So I want to get away here. I want to tell the story of, do you have any recollection of what happened to you after she died? Are you aware of this?
I fell apart because I wanted to go be with her, and it was hard when she died. And I'd go to bed because we slept together and close, and she wasn't there, and it was real hard for me. So the lady next door, she's a black lady.
Yeah, she came in.
And she helped me.
You were suspicious. Then you got suspicious of her. You were, when you came to me, I think Kelly, and I want the audience to know that Kelly Markowitz is here with us, who's been taking care of Ted for the whole time. We'll get Kelly. Can we get her down here? Come on, Kel.
I talk loud. I don't need a speaker.
Okay. So tell us, give us your sort of clinical impression of what happened before you brought her over to me.
Yeah, I mean, you mean when
after
Ted,
she died and
she died and Ted. Yeah, I mean, Ted, you were suspicious. You weren't feeling great.
Oh.
You were. Ted has an amazing friend network, which is incredible, right? All your neighbors.
Yeah.
You were just afraid to be alone too, I think. And then Dr. Edwards, we came to him, and he recognized right away what was going on. Do you remember that?
I'd like to talk a little bit about this. So when he came in, he was psychotic. He had breaks with reality. He felt like the people were after him, and he kept going like this. He would get very nervous, and then he would start this pin rolling thing. Well,
talking about me, huh? I do it, yes.
Okay, and so when I first saw him, I was so fascinated by the ball turret gunner story. There's a poem by a famous poet named Randall Jarrell called "The Death of the Ball Turret Gunner," and I was very familiar with that poem. And so when when Ted came, I wanted to know more about the ball turret. I wanted to know how you got in it, how you got out of it, 250 millimeter guns. And so we talked a lot about that. And I asked him, I said, how would you get out of it? And that's when he started to tell me that there were these, what did you call them? Toggles. And you would try to get out, trying to get a, as you heard, trying to get a parachute. And so when he was going like this, I realized that he didn't vocalize it, but I realized that he was having these flashbacks or this terror from trying to get out of a situation that he couldn't get out of. So we put him on some medication, and it really it helped. You got straightened out pretty fast.
Yeah.
But then you realize that when you came back, I told you, I said, Ted, I think you had PTSD.
Oh yeah.
From being in that ball turret, and it was triggered by your wife's death.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a letter to the VA and described exactly what you did there. Tell us what happened when you heard from the VA. What did they tell
you? Someone said I got a big check, but I don't really realize. Remember a big check. I remember a annuity, amount of money went up, and I ever since I've been getting money from them. Because
and it was a pretty big bump, wasn't it?
Your monthly income went up quite a bit, right?
It was enough to live on.
Okay, so one of the days...
It wasn't a big check, though.
No, I misunderstood. It was the fact that your monthly check jumped up pretty big from the VA. Because you came over one day when you got your first check and tried to hug me. You said...
Yeah.
That's what you said.
You're right. I owe you that.
You saw that check and you said, I got to go thank Chuck for this check. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I want to talk just briefly here at the end. You've lived a long life. Okay. I've just written a book about this, and I want to ask you a couple of questions. Do you have anything that you think that you could attribute this long life to, that you sort of took care of yourself, or is there anything that you could connect with that longevity?
I always say Proverbs 3, when which is just that you give yourself to the Lord to keep you going. As my son, and I do not forget my word, but let your heart keep my commandments for a length of days and years of life. They will provide you. And I remembered that part.
So you feel like that your faith and that feeling that you're close to God has helped you sort of...
Yes, because every time I had a down type thing, I prayed to Jesus and felt like it almost...
Immediately went away? Well, you also had your brother as an example of kind of how not to do it. Do you feel like that...
Well, that's another story, I guess.
All right. Tell me, what's the hardest thing that you feel like you've lived to 100? What's the hardest thing that you have to accept in a long life? Sort of to keep your balance. What's been the hardest thing in your life to accept and living so long?
I guess just the I can't do what I did before. My activity was cut down. I used to do things, and I couldn't think as clear, and I couldn't. I wanted to do some things that I couldn't. I just couldn't do it, and my mind was not as clear either, or to thinking of this thing, and so I wrote down the 41 missions that I have from another friend that recorded them, kid from Alabama. Yeah, he's the one. He said, "Ted, I'll never leave you in the ball for it."
And you kept in touch with him.
Yeah.
Do you know, one of the things that I talk about in the book is vital links and sort of the memories that you have of people, heroes or people that have helped you when times were tough. And this would fit right into there. So sometimes you think of that guy from Alabama that said to you, looking down in that turret, he said, "Ted, I'll never leave you." You think about that now?
Oh yeah, that meant a lot. I got to see him after, too. But isn't that wonderful? I'll never leave you in the ball for it.
I wish you had told me that before I wrote the book. That would have been better than the example I had. All right, we're getting ready to leave here, okay? Do you have any advice for us, for Melanie and Kelly or me on, if you were getting ready to leave, let's say the fates tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Ted, it's time to go."
Yeah.
And you had one thing that you could turn to us and say, "Guys, I want you to remember this about me before I go." What would you say?
I would say one of the things anyway is that I passed out about 2 cases of Bibles. I passed them out on the Greenway as I gave people Bibles. I'd buy another case of Bibles and give them out. And the Lord blessed me that, and I met an atheist. We were able to have a discussion with him. I met people that would take a Bible, someone want more, and I wrote in there Proverbs 3 in there, and so I enjoyed walking on a trail and talking to people. But anyway.
I think that's pretty good advice. Well, listen, Ted, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you spending time with us today. You've given us a lot of things to think about, but sharing this amazing life that you've had. And
one of the things I still think of, though, I still dream of, is the lead plane was in a B-24 were flying in squadron, and the head plane went down, hit the hydraulics, and it's gone. And watching the B, and they got her in the ball turret to see if he could get his guns raised so he could get out.
He couldn't get out, and you see him.
Both of the ball gunners that and the 2 planes went down. The ball never got out. I could see him lowering his gun down and going it, and they never had time to get out. The other guys are out. The parachutes are floating, and they got an updraft from the parachute. And the Japanese planes that come across and spin around, and they're playing with them. And we couldn't, at the time, and shoot at them with their own guys floating right. They hit an updraft and they were sitting right out there.
Yeah, and you were shooting at those planes, close to the guys.
Yeah.
And those visions that you have are just as clear today as they were when you were in the ball turret.
Yeah. So as I see,
amazing stuff. Kelly, thank you. Ted, thank you.
Okay.
It's been great talking to you.
Okay, thank you.